Hello, Carrots here. Welcome to episode 35 of the 30 Grandchildren Badge attempt. I thought I'd start by having a bit of a look around the situation in Cake Island. Jerry's household is gradually emptying. It's still got more than 8 Sims in it, but there's a lot less than there used to be. This is Jerry, and she is the mother of 15. She was surprised to discover she had just had 15 babies. Now her babies have all grown up, they're all young adults, getting married. And this group is Jerry with her remaining unmarried children, and the second picture includes Dave, who is the future husband of Demetria, who will be the next one to get married. And that is her entire household. It has shrunk dramatically, but the number of gnome gravestones has grown dramatically. They're scattered all around their yard now, and her destiny is to become the grandmother of 30 grandchildren. Tony McLean, the surprised father of Jerry's 15 children, lives next door with his new wife and baby son, Myron. And just down the street a bit, 5 of Jerry's children have married and moved into houses with their new wives and are beginning to have their families. Hopefully not too many will be born, because we'll need to wait until everybody's married before the 30 grandchildren can start counting. But that's the street that 5 of Jerry's married children live in now. Now, we've run out of houses up the top for any future married couples. Wilfred and Wendy got married, and I found a group of 3 houses down near the bottom of the screen, and I moved Wilfred and Wendy into the first one. It's a greenhouse. We gave it a big makeover, and you saw that in an earlier episode. In the last episode, Dolores and Daryl got married, and they have moved into the yellow house, which is in the middle of the 3. There it is. Dolores and Daryl live in that house. And now, this is the only look-through I'm going to give you of Dolores and Daryl's house. It's the same layout as the house next door that Wilfred and Wendy are in, but all I've done is upgrade some of their appliances. I haven't added extra rooms or anything. We'll add extra rooms later on if they have enough babies. Hopefully I'll find places for the remaining 8 children to move into when they get married. Many of the houses that are in town are occupied by the imaginary friends that have been made real, trained with basic skills, and moved out into houses of their own in Cake Island. And speaking of the imaginary friends made real, I got them all together for a photo shoot, and here they are. And they're spinning into their toy form at the moment, and then we'll get them to spin back into their human forms. And that toddler sitting in the front, he is a born-in-game imaginary friend. One pair of imaginary friends got married and had a baby, and I checked, he is an imaginary friend as well. The green and the orange on the left-hand side there are the 2 imaginary friends that got married, and they're his parents. I'll spin them back into their human forms in a minute. Another one, I think it's, if you go to the right-hand side, the one at the back with the dark blue outfit, he's also got a partner, but she's human. So if they ended up starting to have babies, then some of them might be imaginary friends and others might not. Byron is Wilfred's imaginary friend made real. I suppose you'd better make them all turn back into their human form. There are 3 imaginary friends left to be turned real, and that will happen in this episode. So you'll see 3 new imaginary friends made real shortly. Now, if you watched the last episode, you will remember this pair got married, and here we are turning up at their new house in the middle of the night straight after the wedding. I've already shown you through their new house, so we'll leave them there to settle in while we head back to Jerry's place and see what's happening there. After a few of the previous weddings, a lonely Sim had been found sitting sadly in a bar somewhere, wondering if she was ever going to find a partner for herself. It was Demetria. She went home that night after Dolores and Daryl's wedding, and she just stood at the front door, sadly, in the dark, alone, as her siblings returned from the wedding and went inside. And then Dave came out. Dave was that sweet guy who had moved into the house when he and Daryl arrived from the great southern land. Demetria had been hoping that they would get to know each other better. Apparently, Dave had been thinking the same things about Demetria, and Dave knew it was their turn, and he told her Demetria, and she was just so happy, and he kissed her. And then they hugged, and then everything just went along from there so quickly, and she was not sad anymore. They both knew they were expected to get married, and they decided that they'd get married to each other. Didn't take very long at all for Dave to ask Demetria if they could be girlfriend and boyfriend. And of course Demetria didn't wait. She just said yes immediately. And then they spent a lot of quality time together over the next few days before they thought it's time we took it to the next step. But let's just leave them on their own for now and go and see what else is happening inside the house. Joni, one of Demetria's younger sisters, made her way down to the bottom basement to read something on her tablet. And while she relaxed, she had taken her imaginary friend doll, Lucky, out of her inventory and placed Lucky on the floor. And then Lucky became alive. That was exciting. It turns out that Joni and Lucky were extremely good friends already, so it didn't take long before Lucky was happy to drink the potion that Joni had been carrying around in her inventory, specifically to give it to Lucky so Lucky could become real. Joni was in no hurry to give Lucky her potion. She was too busy having a chat. Oh, let's have a little mind meld. See what we can learn. Better be sure. Didn't learn anything though. It was a bit of a disappointment. But it's got to be all good. Joni and Lucky have been best friends for such a long time. And Joni is an expert on making potions, and she made the potion to turn her imaginary friend real such a long time ago. She'd almost forgotten she had it. But then she remembered after chatting with her imaginary friend that has just become live. It's time to make her real. Eventually Joni pulled the potion casually out of her pocket and handed it to Lucky, who took it and drank it, and the change began, and soon Lucky became Lucy. Went into stylist and had a complete makeover. And there she is, the new imaginary friend made real, Lucy. She's got a lot of very unusual traits. Unusual for me, I don't usually give those sort of traits to my Sims. She's not evil. Now, Joni's younger sister, Constance, is upstairs and she's placed her imaginary friend on the grass outside. It turns out that Constance and Bobo were already great friends, just like Joni had been with Lucky. Constance wandered out to the middle of the yard to get away from the kitchen door, and Bobo followed. And there's another gnome tombstone just there on the left, almost off the screen. They're worth 5 environment points each, so it's not too bad to have them around the place. Looks like their buddies don't necessarily always agree, but they are getting along just fine. Eventually, Constance pulls the potion out of her pocket and gives it to Bobo, who drinks it happily. And the transformation begins, and Bobo becomes Bruce, who ends up having a very interesting group of traits. And Bruce goes into create a sim and stylist, and here he is when he has emerged. Connie and Bruce continue their conversation as though nothing had happened. But of course it has. Now everybody can see Bruce. People now know that Constance isn't crazy. She does really have an imaginary friend, and this is what he looks like. Meanwhile, Demetria and Dave had decided to go out for the day and go exploring around their home world of Cake Island. And they were talking about what they wanted out of life, if they could spend their future together. And they were doing some flirting as well. It seems that they're getting on very well. And they seem to both want the same things, babies. I can see there's going to be a wedding shortly between these two. They've got a rather public place, but they don't seem to notice. This is the fishing hole where Demetria used to spend so many hours fishing when she was a child and a teen. Now she's a young adult and she's ready to start having babies, and she thinks that Dave could be just the right person. And of course Dave has a lifetime wish of raising 5 children from baby to teen, and he needs a wife to do that. So they are getting along very well. We'll leave them there enjoying their few moments together, or their whole day together. I think they're having a few days together, getting to know each other. And there's one more imaginary friend that needs to be made real. And Kendall has taken his imaginary friend, Cosmo, out of his pocket and put the doll on the ground. And yes, he's become real. She's standing in the front yard of their house. Cosmo and Kendall are already extremely good friends. Like his two elder sisters and their imaginary friends, they've all just been waiting for the time when all of the other siblings had their imaginary friends made real, because we couldn't have 15 imaginary friends made real all at the same time. It's just been a waiting game. So there is Kendall showing a funny video to Cosmo, who'd really enjoyed it, had a bit of a giggle. Now Kendall has got his potion to make Cosmo real in his pocket. He's had it for a long time. The last 5 or 6 have had their potions in their pockets for several episodes. That's why the potion making has slowed down in the game, because they didn't need to make any more potions. The only potions they're making now are if they've got a wish to make a specific potion and they need some more lifetime happiness points. So there Cosmo drank the potion, and now he is real. And he went in to create a sim and stylist, and there he is, Cameron, Kendall's imaginary friend made real. So that's it. There are no more imaginary friends left to be made real in this household. Soon the final 3 imaginary friends made real will go to the Great Southern Land with Kobe and Sharonda. Hello, this romance seems to be progressing beautifully. They've come to a romantic circle of stones with will-o'-the-wisps floating around them. And Dave's decided it is the right moment to pop the question. And Demetria is so excited, and she just jumps up and down and she finally says yes. So he puts this shiny new ring on her finger, and now they're engaged to be married. The next step, of course, will be a wedding. So now it seems it's time to plan a wedding. We will have the wedding at the gazebo, the same place as Daryl and Dolores had their wedding. But we won't have so many guests, of course. It was just too many that last time. Wedding plans were hastily put into motion. We want to get all of these children married off quickly. The day for the wedding finally arrived, and here we are at the gazebo. This is the last chance they'll get to change their minds. Are they sure about each other? They have known each other for quite a while. Dave turned up at the same time as Daryl. They came together from the Great Southern Land. The guests arriving now, and they are all so far the imaginary friends made real. However, Jerry has just showed up, as well as the beginnings of Demetria's sisters and their spouses. Demetria's got to the foot of the steps of the gazebo and she's just frozen there. Maybe she's having second thoughts after all. Now that everybody's turned up, it might be just a bit too much for her. Let's hope she decides that she still wants to go ahead with the wedding. After a long and anxious wait, Demetria finally made her way up the steps. Dave had come down by now, but then he's noticed that she'd gone up and was standing underneath the wedding arch, so he hurriedly ran up the steps to make sure that he got there before she changed her mind again and came away from the wedding arch. Oh, and she's happy that he's arrived back. Maybe she was a little bit concerned that he'd decided to give up on her after all. Nothing like an attack of being frozen for a few hours at the foot of the steps. That's Wendy. She just decided to get herself something to eat. Then she notices that the ceremony's about to begin. So she has a few mouthfuls and then she gets up and puts the plate on the floor and leaves it there while she heads off back down to observe the wedding ceremony. She's of course wearing her own wedding dress. After this wedding, I took it upon myself to change all of their wedding dresses to look like ordinary dresses, because we had so many brides at this wedding it was ridiculous. Here's the ceremony beginning. They're making their vows, and now they're exchanging rings. Demetria gives Dave his ring, and then Dave gives Demetria her ring. And that's it. Got white hearts. They're married. Yes, I didn't actually take away their wedding dresses. What I did was anybody who had a dress that looked like a wedding dress as one of their formals, I recoloured it or gave it a pattern or something. I did take away their bouquets and their veils though. Thought that was a bit much for a formal dress. The thing is, I was so careful to make sure that their wedding dresses were the second formal dress, but somehow or other for almost all of them, the game swapped them around and made their wedding dress the number one formal dress, so it's the one that they always turn up in to any formal occasion. I don't mind Wendy's dress because it doesn't really look like a wedding dress. I'll probably leave it alone. But Alicia was here in her long white dress with her veil and her bouquet. I don't think I showed you any of the brides. I cut them all out. I thought that was a little bit much. So this is where they're going to come up to cut the cake. And there's the cake they're going to cut, the one with the pink flowers on it. The other one is a decoration on the buffet table. They'll be eating from the buffet table because I didn't hire a chef, so they can't use their menus today. At last, the guests are starting to come upstairs. Here's Wendy. She's the first one to arrive at where they're going to have their feast and their dancing. That's Demetria, the bride. She's up next. And next came Percy, the evil imaginary friend made real, followed by Jack, another of the imaginary friends. And the blonde is Candace, and she's married to Robbie. The next one to arrive was Pauline. And this is another one of the imaginary friends made real. That long blue dress came with the Katy Perry stuff pack. The next to arrive is Wynne. She's another of the imaginary friends made real, and I've just discovered that the game has paired her up with Ben. They've got big red hearts, they're romantic interests, and that is Ben who's just come up the steps now. So they're both imaginary friends and they're a pair. Guess we'll have a wedding for them shortly. All these imaginary friends getting married and having babies. Here's Dave, he's ready to cut the cake. And there's Jerry, she just arrived, and that's Bill, the imaginary friend there with the longish hair. He, I think, was actually the imaginary friend of Gwen, the first bride. She was married to Demetria's eldest brother, Javin. There's Jerry, and the one in the red dress is Josie. She's the one who's married with a baby. There's just so many of them that are imaginary friends turning up. It's Dennis, he's married to Alicia. He's one of the ones that is going to provide us with grandchildren for Jerry. I think I've given up trying to think of the names of all those imaginary friends, which is lucky because the cake just got cut. Now they can all come and get a piece of cake and celebrate the wedding. Dave's got his piece of cake. Here's Pauline getting her slice of cake with that dress split all the way up to her waist almost on one side. It looks like Demetria's decided to have another freeze right there in front of the cake. There's Jake coming to get his piece of cake. And Jerry's headed over to the buffet to serve the food. Unfortunately, there's menus on all of those tables, so they can't put their food on the table to eat it. Should have taken them away because I didn't hire a chef. The reason for them not being a chef is I tried a few times to hire one, but the game couldn't cope with it. With all the extra things that are going on in this world at the moment, one chef working for the wedding was just one chef too many. It looks like Demetria's decided not to have a piece of cake after all, when the dancing's about to begin. She's there chatting with Daryl. He got married in the last episode to Dolores, and I can't see Dolores here anywhere. I don't think she has come to this wedding. Imaginary friends are enjoying their wedding cake and other food that they've got from the buffet. And there's Candace in her purple sleeves. She's married to Robbie. I haven't seen him around yet, but I'm sure he's there. I think there's mainly imaginary friends here today as their wedding guests. There all seems to have been in the main household at some point. Most of them have now been moved out, but once I've made the final 3 imaginary friends real, it turns out there are 11 Sims in the main household, but 5 of them are about to move out, so it's shrinking. My goal is to get only Jerry in that household, so she'll be living there by herself when the 30 grandchildren start being born. There's Dolores in her wedding dress still, getting a piece of cake, and there finally, Dave and Demetria are dancing. A nice slow dance. Of course, he asked her and she'll dance the male part. And that means he'll do all the twirls and things and she'll hold him while he does things like that, which is quite not exactly how it's supposed to be. But they're dancing and it's their wedding, so what the heck if he wants to dance the bride's part? It's their prop. Oh, look, there is Javan, the eldest of the 15 children, the first one to get married. He's been married for a while now. It's getting late and they've all been dancing for ages and eating and chatting and having fun. One thing with weddings is you can get a chance to see all of the various Sims that have lived in the household at some point but no longer do. There's currently 8 Sims in the house, in the main household, plus the 3 brand new imaginary friends that just been made real. So that's good. Everybody's going home. So we might leave the late ones here just dancing and then we'll go and have a look at the house that Dave and Demetria are going to live in and raise their babies. So a couple of days after the wedding, Dave and Demetria had moved out to their new home when I went there to visit them, but there was nobody home. I found Demetria snoozing at the local gym and I see she's changed into her pregnancy outfit. She was obviously in a hurry to start that family. Now this gym comes with the world and I haven't been inside it before, so I'm exploring to see what I can see. I didn't realise that she's actually outdoors and she gets extremely hot before I worked that out. And then I remember when they were at the wedding, I had their free will turned off, so she's not going to move until she either self-combusts or I tell her to move. So I think I better tell her to move. Now that's Frank, I think. He's married to one of Demetria's sisters, and the other one there is Ted Fields, and he's just one of the extra townies I added. He plays a major role in my big game. Now that's Ben walking towards the exercise machine. He's one of the imaginary friends who was at the wedding. And Candace, the wife of Robbie, she's going to try to climb that wall. I had trouble getting a video of her going up that wall. This gym's got 2 levels, so I'll need to go upstairs to see what she's doing properly. Well, there's a mummy fish in the fish tank and a robot fish. And that's a townie. I think that's a traveller from the future that's just got onto that other exercise machine on the right. It's interesting seeing all the fish floating around in that wall-installed digital fishiness display. It came with late night. So it's found in Windows as the most expensive window. I do quite enjoy using it occasionally. There's 2 of them installed on this level of this lot. And here's Candace trying to climb the wall. She seems to be a bit stuck. She keeps doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So we won't spend too much time watching. As she is in action anyway, going up that wall. That climbing wall came from the Sims 3 store. Wow, I found some interesting stuff when I went up to the 2nd level. There's a gyroscopic conductor, I think that came with Showtime, and a hot tub. The space here as well for you could put extra things if you want to. There's a big empty space and you can put something in there. Personalise your gym. I don't think I'll be doing that. That's the roof. It's got an interesting looking roof too. Looks like a donut, doesn't it? With the sprinkles on top. And the little pizza place next door to the left. That's where we're going to find Dave. So there are the Sims running on the treadmills. I suppose they all keep themselves fit this way, don't they? And I know nothing about it because all of them are living on their own. And that's one of the new imaginary friends just walked in, and she's going to work out as well. She's not a very nice Sim. She's going to cause trouble. She's mean-spirited and all sorts of terrible things. Her name's Lucy, and she's going to go to the Great Southern Land shortly. Okay, there's Dave. He's standing outside the pizza place, and there's a Sim there playing the guitar, and she's got an audience of one. The tourist has arrived from the future. And of course, that Sim playing the guitar happens to be our second most recent bride, Dolores, and she's in a pregnancy outfit too. Demetria and Dolores have been together on so many escapades during their childhood and growing up years, and they got married very quickly one after the other, and they both got pregnant straight away. And there's Dave. he'd better go and rescue his wife, I think, who's overheating as she relaxes in front of the pool. So that's the pizza place there with a slice of pizza on the roof. Look, there is the little nectary that I discovered, which is next to the Horse Equestrian Regional Training Grounds, which is just behind the new house that Demetria and Dave have moved into. And there is Daryl. He's visiting the nectary. And Pauline, she's one of the imaginary friends. She was wearing that long blue dress at the wedding. And that Sim with the stripy top on, she is one of the extra townies that I added right at the beginning. Haven't played her very much, but she does get played occasionally. There's plenty of open space around the nectary buildings, and those buildings on the left, I think, are part of that horse thing. And there's the houses that Dave and Demetria and Daryl and Dolores and Wilfred and Wendy all live in. I suppose they can visit the nectary whenever they feel like it because it's just behind their houses. Dolores headed off home in her little purple Twizzy. I was surprised to see her feet. Obviously she's got a see-through door as well as a window. I was thinking it was probably very breezy in there, but I suspect that there may be glass or perspex or something at the bottom of that door. So there's the houses, and she is now at home. She's just across the street from Dolores and Daryl, and on the other side of that yellow house where Dolores and Daryl live is the house where Wendy and Wilfred live. I'll just give you a quick overview of the house they live in. All I've done to it is upgrade some of the appliances, like the fridge and the stove and the shower. Everything in this place is of good quality. It's a more expensive house. They even scored a grand piano and 2 cars and a little outdoor greenhouse that I discovered has got a magic gnome in it. I don't know if that came with the house or if one of the occupants might have had it in their inventory. Not sure, don't remember now. So this is downstairs. It's got everything they need downstairs, and upstairs in the bedrooms. There, I upgraded the shower. The bedrooms have got a total of 3 bunk beds. One bedroom's got room for 2 Sims to sleep in a bunk bed, and then the bedroom next to it has got 2 bunk beds in there for 4 Sims to sleep. So they can have at least 6 children. And then in the next room there's a single bed and a cot. So probably they can have 7 or even maybe 8 children, so long as the baby doesn't get out of the cot. And then this is the main bedroom where Demetria and Dave sleep. So that's it. There's Dave sitting at the computer reading. There's only 2 levels in this house. The other 2 houses have got a 3rd level upstairs, which was basically empty. I added those extras of supernatural cupboards and some storage cases that are custom content. And then I added the swings and playground equipment in the backyard. But the miner, it was already there. So the house comes with a miner as well as the cars and all the other stuff. So that's it. Now let's go and see what's happening at Dolores's house. Dolores lives in the yellow house. She's come home too. She was playing her guitar in the front of the pizza house. And here she is at home in her own living room in her pregnancy outfit playing guitar. She loves to play that guitar. She was always playing the guitar when she lived at home with her mother. And now she's out on her own with just the love of her life, Daryl. And soon they'll be joined by at least one little baby. But back at home, it's time for certain Sims to travel to the Great Southern Land. Now the Sims that are travelling today are Kobe and Sharonda, who are going to go and meet their future spouses, and the 3 imaginary friends that have just been made real, Lucy, Bruce and Cameron. And of course this one walking out now is not travelling anywhere. She's just somebody that I added to be a townie. She's one of the Sims I made, but she was one of the half dozen or so Sims that I added at the very beginning of the game, so there'd be some townies around. So now they are leaving on their journey, and we will catch up with them when they arrive at the base camp in the Great Southern Land. And then that will be the end of the video. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I do appreciate it when people do that. I appreciate it when people watch it at all, actually. And if you have enjoyed the video, please give it a like, because that helps the video with YouTube's way of doing things. They probably show it to other people. If you give it a like, and a comment too would be great. And if you haven't subscribed yet, well then here's your chance to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, which will be all set in the Great Southern Land. You'll get to know the 3 new imaginary friends made real, and you'll see a couple of weddings because we're going to get Kobe and Sharonda married to Clarice and Stan in the next episode. But they're at the base camp at the moment. They haven't yet gone to the Great Southern Land main household just yet. That's Sharonda and Bruce at the table there. So thank you for watching. Bye bye for now and happy simming.